Okay, welcome back. We are finishing up our lessons on the Kindle Direct Publishing, KDP, and getting our 10 journals out and published today. So we have at this point gone through the paperback details, we've gone through the paperback content, and today we're going to look at the paperback rights and pricing. Okay, so at this point you've had these two done. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom because there was something I had missed here. You have your manuscript up, your cover should be up. You're going to need to launch the previewer, okay, to approve the book. And this doesn't mean that you can't make changes, but if you do, you have to preview it again. It takes a while sometimes for it to come up. It's just a digital previewer. It comes right up in this browser, and then you just approve it. And then you get a summary of your book, and they tell you what your printing costs are. Okay, now this is not the cut that Amazon takes. They take a little bit more than that because they have more costs other than just the printing involved, right? So I just wanted to point that out to you, and now we're going to save and continue and move on to the pricing. So the pricing tab, going through that is very quick and easy, but there's a lot of information you might want to go through on your own as you're going for the first time, the first journal that you're pricing. And then you can price all of your journals the same so that you have everything consistent except for the covers, so you can see which artwork is connecting with your customer. And then you can play with pricing later. You want to try to get sales, so a lower price is better to try to, because the sales is what will give you the information that we're trying to gather, right? Which is what are customers buying. So first thing here, you can learn more about the distribution rights, but basically it's asking if you have rights, if you hold the worldwide rights for your books. We are doing just lined interiors. We have done the interior. It's all something I've created and given you rights to. So there's nothing, don't have to worry about that. The only concern I would think would be possibly of the images. So if you're getting images from another source, I would just make sure you understand what the rights are for using that image. I don't think there's not usually a problem. I usually select all territories and am fine with the rights. Pricing and royalty. So you have Amazon.com. You can also publish on the other platforms here, international platforms, okay? But I'm publishing on the .com. You can do expanded distribution as well, which, let's set our price first. So what we're learning right here is that our Amazon's saying the minimum price has to be $3.58. And what's funny to me is there's a maximum price of $250. And so anything over that, it's not all going to be profit. There's a royalty. It'll show you our rate and printing and the royalty that you get. So, but your pricing can be anywhere over the $3.58. Okay. So let's go with like $6.99 on this one. Actually, I'm going to tell you a marketing secret. I think that when you end a number in 7, a book in, not necessarily a book, but any pricing in 7, it has been proven to show that that number brings in more sales. Play with it. Try $6.99, try $6.97, and see what happens. I've heard from other sellers on Amazon when they lowered their price or raised their price to be something 7, 67, 27, whatever, that they actually saw an increase in their sales. So you can test that out. Remember, after you publish, you can change your description, you can change your keywords, and you can change your pricing. You cannot change your title or your ISBN. And I'm not sure if you can change your distribution after it's published. If you mess up, you can unpublish the book and then just publish it again with a new ISBN. It's not a big deal. Okay, don't get stuck here. So $6.97 tells me what the rate is going to be for my royalty for the .com. If I do expanded distribution, it's going to show me these other, one second. Extended, okay, so I'm sorry, let me go back to this, all these the other platforms here. So it's, if you're selling on Amazon, you're going to have a higher rate, right? But if you do expanded distribution, it's going to end up, that's how you can get your book into other stores. Remember we saw, well, I've seen books that are, they're on Amazon, but they're also in Barnes & Noble. And if you go to Barnes & Noble, the publisher is CreateSpace. So I know that they are KDP books. That's because of the expanded distribution. Okay. You get a smaller royalty on that. And we are also finding that right now, and I think it might just be a reporting issue from KDP, but when you select expanded distribution, immediately you get third-party sellers on your listing. And in theory, the only way, not in theory, but the only way that they can sell your book is if they have a copy of your book. The only way to get a copy of your book is to order it from Amazon through you. Okay? So you should get, if you make a sale to a third party, basically they lower the price that you offer, but they charge shipping, and it's a merchant fulfilled listing. So what we understand that process to be is when a third party listing is on there, if they make a sale, then they buy it from you and send it to the customer. So you still get your royalty. What we're finding though, and some people, we're testing this out right now, is when you buy your own through one of those third party, we're not seeing it reported for a long time. So we're in talks with KDP right now to try to get that resolved. We don't know if it's a reporting issue or what's going on, but so you might not want to do expanded distribution on your journals until that gets resolved. And we will keep you posted as we learn more. You can learn more about what that all means here. You can contact KDP, and what I would do is order from one of the third parties, see if it reports. If it doesn't report, contact KDP and start your own ticket with them. But I just wanted to give that as a warning right now because that's the experience that we're having. So of course your rate's going to be a little bit lower. Okay, so here I'm going to be making a little over $2 a book at the $6.97 price point. I can change this and it automatically updates so I can see how much. But I want to make sales. Not that the $9.97 wouldn't sell, but perhaps a lower price point. And you can change this after it's listed, but maybe a lower price point will encourage more sales, which will give me valuable information for me to move on because I will be using that to build a customer profile. Okay, that's what we've kind of been talking about all along. The goal of this, we're setting a foundation. We're going to put all 10 books up and we're going to gather data based on what sells. So we want to do whatever we can to help encourage those sales. Make sure your pricing is the same across the board with all the journals so they're not buying based on price, and see which covers are relating and connecting with your customers. Okay, I also want to say about price as you're trying to figure it out. I believe it depends on your audience and your niche as to the price point. If you are selling unicorn journals and it's the lined pages inside and it's teens and kids, I would suggest a lower price point. If you are doing something that's a little bit more serious, I guess, perhaps I would try a higher price point. You can see what other people are selling their books for, and maybe can look at some of the data on Amazon to see if there's anything, like look at Jungle Scout and the sales and see if price point seems to be a factor in the books that have more sales. And you can play around with the price, okay? Now I want you to remember, you will never, ever, ever have to create these books again. So $2 per item profit doesn't sound like a whole lot necessarily, but remember you have not invested you've invested a lot of time, but you haven't invested any money. And the thing is that this listing will be forever up on Amazon until you unpublish the book. And so once the sales start building some momentum, you will continue to generate revenue from this without ever having to do it again. So think about the time that it takes when you're selling in other platforms. If you're selling, not other platforms, when you're selling like RA or OA or wholesale, you have to find more product. You have to ship more product into Amazon. There's a lot of things that you actually do spend a lot of time on. You never have to do any of that again. So you're putting all the work up in the front, and then the listings will just work for you over and over and over again. So the amount of time you put in becomes smaller in relationship to the amount of money you're making, the longer, the more time that goes by. All right, so that's your pricing and royalty. If you have any questions, post it in the group. We're happy to help. And then go through the terms and conditions. And when you're done, hit publish your paperback book. That's all you need to do on this stage. You're just saying whether or not you have rights. If you're not sure, I would click on here and look at learn more about territorial rights, especially if you're doing something beyond a lined journal. Okay, and then what are individual territory rights? Do your own research on that, and then do your pricing, terms and conditions. It does take a while for your book to be available on Amazon. They do go through review. If your book does not make it through review, they'll give you a reason why. If you don't understand that, post it in the group. We'll help try to figure out what's going on and why sometimes it gets past to this point and the cover's not good. It doesn't have the title the right way, or it's not on the spine the right way, or something like that. So publish the book, get it past review, and it should be live in the next 72 hours. If you want to get a proof first, I recommend that for your first book, to request a proof. You can do this and then publish your book if you'd like to. But if you get your proof and you don't like the proof, then you're going to need to unpublish, fix whatever it is you don't like, and then republish. But I do recommend to people who have never gotten a book from KDP or CreateSpace to at least request a proof of your first book. One of the first books I did, it might be the first one. I don't think it was the first one. I think the devotional I did was the first, but one of the earlier books that I did, it was a cookbook. And when I ordered a proof, and when I got the proof, the font was huge. It was awful. It just looked really bad. It was a normal sized font. I've done work with printing and graphic design, but for whatever reason, it was just huge and looked horrible for the book that I had it for. I was so glad that I had ordered a proof copy. I also have discovered that now that I know what, like the matte cover versus the glossy cover, a matte cover tends to be a little bit gummy, and the glossy is very shiny. Fingerprints show up on it though. So I like the glossy covers more than the matte. So you get to choose, you get to see that and you get to feel the book. There's something to be said about that. If you don't order a proof and you publish it, you can have the option when you go to your dashboard to order author copies, and that price is really low. So it's like usually between $2.50 and maybe $4 depending on the size of your book. Okay, so your homework is to publish 10 books. At this point, you should have the paperback details done, your paperback content done, and you're literally just selecting your territories, setting your price. If you want to order a proof, go ahead and publish those books. This shouldn't take very long. If you do a little bit of research here, make some good decisions, but your price point should stay the same across all 10 books. All right, guys, we'll see you in the group.